today we got to play
Ostia.
So this is a Kickstarter that came in a little bit before Christmas. We're behind.
We're behind on a lot of games.
We have a lot of games that we need to get through. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing. And that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, this game's pretty.
Yeah, this is the all-in deluxe version. This was some 2022 release. Board Game Geek has it currently with a rating of 7.7 and a rank of 7,503. It plays 1 to 4 players, 80 to 150 minutes average length. Age is 14 and up. I don't really see that as being a requirement. There's a lot of iconography, but it's very simplistic iconography. It wasn't real confusing. Designed by Tatsuka Chuao, who actually created the Aqua Garden game that we bought, which had all the beautiful fish. We have a review of that on our channel if you want to check that out. But we liked the pieces in that game so much. The game was okay, but the pieces were really beautiful. So when I saw this was a more advanced strategy game from the same creator, I was like, oh, and it's an Italian theme, Roman theme. I was like, I'm all in. So the art, it was by Tetsuki Asano and Irabe Rosinante, and it was published by Uchi Bakoya, same publisher as Aqua Garden as well. And this was roughly $90 for the all-in, which has the wooden upgrades for pretty much every piece in the game, and they're all screen printed, or most of them are. Which we can talk about the quality now.
All right, so quality of components. Like you said, we do get a lot of screen printed wooden tokens. So like this ship, you've got, the building tokens, as well as the actual buildings themselves. And then you have your inlaid player boards, both the side and the main.
The base game didn't have the inlays. This was a replacement. They had a box with all the replacement pieces.
Yeah.
But what's really cool, all the tiles are wood and screen printed. All the placed tiles. There's cardboard in the standard game, but they didn't need to be upgraded. But they're wonderful that they are. They're really cool.
Yeah, we're not going to complain about that.
Yeah, and they included sleeves for all the cards for.
And then your little storage boats. They're little storage boats to hold out your resources.
The storage is really nice in general. There's in the box. There's a nice inlay that stores everything really nice.
It's really nice.
And there's a cover that goes on top of it. It's not quite the game trays level, but it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm willing to give this probably 8.5 on quality components.
Yeah, I was going to go a 9. I think they did an outstanding job on the pieces. We'll talk a little different on theme, but I think the pieces look amazing.
Okay. All right. Now let's move on to theme. So the theme is, I guess you're doing shipping lanes?
Emperor Trajan in 103 AD built a new expansion port called Ostia Portus, which was the most important port in Rome. So this is all about expanding Rome from Ostia to different areas. It's very layered on. It's basically you have tracks that you're moving across, and you have cards that have some pictures that look like Roman style attire on people, noblemen and noblewomen.
And this is actually more Greek. This here.
Well, Romans conquered the Greek, and there was a lot of Greek influence in a lot of the Roman.
Right.
So it definitely overlaps.
Yeah, there's some mix here.
But other than that, if you look at the board, the color scheme reminds me of a ping pong table. It doesn't scream Rome. The colors are pretty basic greens.
I like the color palette.
It's just very basic. Don't get me wrong. I think the contrast with the pieces look beautiful. The board itself, if you take out the scoring chart, is very basic.
Well, yes, but it is very functional.
It's functional, yeah. Nothing gets in the way of the pieces. You don't get distracted. But the background is just very plain.
Yeah, the theme's not very heavy on this one, guys.
Now, the player boards, it's the same thing, but it doesn't bother me as much because there's a little more building architectures on that. You notice there's some drawings of but it's still a two-tone color. It's just nothing outstanding, nothing eye-catching. So
I mean, I think they went with simplicity.
Yeah,
I think it
definitely.
worked well as far as functionality.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not heavy on theme.
No.
It's really not. So I'm probably, and the artwork, there's not even a lot of artwork.
No.
There's a couple of symbologies. I'm probably going to give this a 6.
I'm going to go a little higher because I think the theme would include all the screen printing on the pieces.
No, that's quality.
Yeah, it's kind of borderline. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7. I think the tokens do look nice, and I don't mind the player boards. They do curl a bit. We didn't mention that. There's a little curling, not as bad as we've seen in other games.
No.
And it certainly isn't.
Oh, I will say one of mine, and this is just Randy always gets a bad copy.
Yeah.
One of mine's peeling.
Yeah, one of yours is peeling. Yeah, I know. That's frustrating. But yeah, I mean, it just doesn't scream Rome, but it's got some Roman touches to it. And, so 7, I think, is appropriate.
All right, so now let's actually talk about the rule book.
All right, so the rule book has really no cover. It goes straight into the backstory of the Roman time of, this game set in and the components, but they do have nice pictures. Font was tiny. That was the biggest problem. It was the colors, the color palette they chose being a kind of a gray with the black, and the font being tiny, and unless they bolded, which they did bold a lot. There's almost every other word was bolded, whether it needed to be or not, in the book. But there's a lot that just kind of fades while you're reading it. It makes it harder to read. And the page numbering referenced in the book was incorrect. So things that said they were on a certain page, you go and it's like, no, there's nothing about it in this page, and you have to find where it was actually.
Yeah, it's like they did it before they put the layout in.
There's this was originally a Japanese creator, Japanese game. The translation did a pretty good job, but there's still some mistranslations or grammatical mistakes. Not a big deal. There were some rule-based mistakes. Didn't impact the gameplay, but if you went literally by the iconography, they caught it after they printed it, and they put some errata out already. But there's like one of the tokens that clearly shows one icon on it says you get 2 rewards. Well, it's not. It was supposed to be 1 reward. It's clear. I mean, we didn't even have a problem because we looked at the icon and could tell it was 1 reward. So, I mean, it's not bad, and they caught most of it, and they printed an errata, or they put it out on their, Board Game Geek site. So it's pretty good rule book. The game's actually a lot simpler. When I first got it, I was like, oh, this is going to be a beast to try to learn.
Yeah, you were nervous, but you called me pretty early. I was like, I figured it out, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
Because it wasn't that bad. I mean, it's a 24-page rule book.
Well, and I think part of it is that it's so similar to...
well, it's compared online to Trajan. There's aspects of it that are Mancala.
Well, the game mechanic...
Yeah, but I don't think this is like Trajan at all. I mean, as far as the track movements and such.
This.
Yeah, that board is... But that's Mancala. I mean, any game that uses the Mancala components is going to feel like that. But otherwise, I don't think this feels like Trajan that much. There are tracks in Trajan, I guess, you could say, in the top portion of it. So I guess I can see, given the fact that it's also...
Well, it might be one that most people are familiar with.
Well, it's a Roman theme. It's got Mancala. It's got tracks. And, they actually mentioned Trajan, Emperor Trajan in it. So it's the same time period, So I can see the comparison. I don't think it feels like Trajan. But, yeah, I mean,
I think it feels like Trajan, but okay.
Either way. So, yeah, I can see where people would get that idea. I think the rulebook does a pretty good job. I'm probably going to go ahead and give it a 7.5. I think they did a pretty decent job translating it into the English and translating the rules and communicating the rules effectively. I just think there's a few typos they need to work on.
Okay. All right. So, let's now discuss actual gameplay. So, you start out the game. You have 1 in each spot.
As far as your boats, those represent your tokens as you're moving.
And then you're going to pick a random card, which... yeah,
we don't have any out. But they have basically just starting locations where you're going to put 3 more boats to distribute.
Yeah, so I'll randomly choose them because that's fun. All right. And then, so then that's the start. And then
you have 2 resources.
then
on
you
each
randomly pick
resource
a
location.
building of the.
Well, you don't randomly. There's 4 starting yellow tiles where you place
Right, and
one
you
of
have
your
to pick
starting buildings in reverse turn order.
Right. So in this case, I will go here. I don't know what Randy's going to do.
Yeah. I will take my building and I will put it up here.
All right, and then
you take the building from that.
And when you do, you have to place it in the one
The
where
starting location.
Yeah, the starting location, which is the move the boat to location. All right. So now I'm going to go first because Randy went first last time.
Well, then you wouldn't have placed your token first. I would have.
Oh, well, you'll be fine. All right. So okay, so I'm going to decide that I am actually going to get some gold because that sounds like fun. So I'm going to pick the 2 boats in the trade and gold action. So I'm going to take 2 cubes.
Yeah, so
because I have 2 boats.
Yeah, however many boats, that's how much you
and
get.
Then I'm going to place 1 in each spot until I no longer have any boats, and then that leaves me at the move action spot. So I'll be able to move my boat 1 space for free, or I can pay additional resources, and that is up here in your corner. I am going to end up spending the 2 resources I have so I can move 2. All right, so now I'm going to be able to move 2 spaces. So I'm going to go up this track here. I'm going to go 1, 2. Now, I immediately pass this dotted line, so I get this token, which gives me 2 gold and a symbol, 2 symbols of something that we'll need for set collection a little bit later. And then I landed on this. So then I get 2 bricks. Now, if I were not to land on this, I don't get the resources, okay? And just kind of FYI. All right, so if you pass them, you don't get them. But if you land on them, you get them. So it's great. All right, so that is my turn. Now, Randy, what turn are you going to take?
So I am going to move to these 2 boats here. So I don't get resources on this location. This space does not store resources. But I am going to place these 2, and I get to land here, and I get to build a boat. So I pay 2 wood, and that to build my lowest bottom boat there, and I get to choose whichever location I want to place it on. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on, let's put it on the boat as well. So I'm going to put, now I have 3 boats there. Basically, it adds another resource that I can generate from that location.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm then going to take my, so I'm going to end up taking 2 wheat because I'm here. Okay. I'm going to place 1. I'm going to place 2. Now I'm going to end up at the trade action. So there's a couple of things I can do during trade. One of which is that I can use the buildings that I have already built. In this case, I only have access to this trade building. It allows me to turn gold into wheat. Okay. I am actually going to do this. I'm going to, we'll spend 2 gold for 2 wheat. Yeah, that sounds good. All right. And then I also get an opportunity. So there are other buildings that require trade that you can trigger. And then you can opt to buy one of these scorecards. So these scorecards, they count when you achieve the goal. So a couple examples is that you have, I call it for Coke, but it's actually for wine.
They're ceramic jugs of some kind.
Yeah, probably with wine. It reminds me of the one game that has the same symbol. All right. And then this one is 5 up this victory point.
That's a reward
track. For buildings and etc. and so forth. So just kind of keep that in mind. The trade action is where you go to buy those. You spend 4 coin to do that. Yeah, so that's my turn. Randy?
All right, so I'm going to take the 2 off of the gold, so I get 2 gold in that location, and then I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to trigger a movement action. So I got 2 paper there, so I can pay the 2 paper to move 2 spaces, and I will move 1, 2. I get this token just like you did, which gives me 2 gold, and I get 2 wheat for landing on that space, just similar to your first move.
Okay. All right. So now it's my turn. I'm going to take these 3 off of the movement space, which gives me 3 movement creeds, if you will. They're little pieces of paper that allows me to move further. Right? 1, 2, 3. Now I get to actually build a building. So I have 4 resources, but the first one's 2, the second one's 3. Now, if I were to have 5, I could buy 2 buildings at this point. I'm not that fortunate. I don't have that ability, or I don't have that many resources, so I'm just going to spend the 2 that I need. And then I'm going to place a building. Now, what buildings can I build? I can only build buildings that are behind one of my boats, okay? So in this case, I'm here, so I can build here. So I'm going to do that. It's not the greatest building in the world, but, you know, it might be useful later. All right, so I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put it now. Now, I do have a couple of options of where I place this building. So I can place it anywhere else that I have a spot for it. And each one gives me a special ability. So I am, normally wouldn't do this, but because for explaining the game, I'm going to go here, which allows me to go up the reward track. Okay, now what is this reward track for? So basically very similar to Scythe is that the further up the track you go, the more things your things are worth, okay? So that's actually very, very relevant for you. So right now, any of the wine tokens are worth 4 victory points right now, but as you go up, they can be worth up to 10, and that's pretty dramatic. Your buildings also start out at 6, can end up as 12. So that's a huge different scoring thing, so maybe having a little less is fine if you're further up the track. So just kind of keep that in mind. So, all right, Randy, now it is your turn.
All right. I think I'm going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, that's interesting, so let's do that. Well, it's only 4. Never mind. Well, I'll go ahead and do the trade action anyway. No, I won't, because I can't buy these with trade action. Yeah, I'm kind of in a place where I can't do a whole lot of different actions. I can either trade, or I can move again, or I can build. I guess I'll build too. I was hoping to get something different than you had, but that's what my placements are. So I'm building, paying the 2 stone for the first level building. I only have one choice where to play. I've got to play there because that's the only place behind my boat. And I will put this one on the +1. Let's do +1 wood and paper.
Okay. All right. So now it is my turn. For help of the game.
Oh, I didn't notice you moving that boat.
1, 2, 3. All right, so now I'm going to be able to trigger the. So first thing is I would have gotten. Okay, so I end up here on the card action. Okay, so I have 3, 4, 5, 6 resources over here, and I have a couple of options. Now this one actually I can spend 5 resources to another and get this. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to spend 5 of these resources, 2 of the bricks. And I'm going to pick this up here. So there's a couple of things. So that was the cost. So notice that there is a dark one and a light one. If you just pay the 5 wheat, you get 1 of... They're not Coke. They're clay...
They're ceramic jugs.
Ceramic jugs. All right. So I will get 1 of the ceramic jugs. However, if I pay 2 additional bricks, I will get a second one. And I did do that. So I'm going to get that second one. All right. Then I'm going to get the resources here that's stated on the card. So I get 2 of these movement papers. All right. And then I get this icon, which again, it can be useful later on when it comes to scoring. Okay. So that's that card. Now I can continue to buy cards until I run out of money or I run out of cards on the board. Okay. I do not flip over until my turn ends. So the max I'm going to be able to purchase is 4. I only ever bought 2 cards max at turn. So, yeah. So
you did a lot better. I only got 3 the whole game. So
yeah, I got a lot more than you did.
Yeah.
All right. So, then that's my turn. All right, Randy. I think all that we have left is.
I'm going to take the move over to. There's the one space that does not collect resources. Well, first of all, I get 2 stone for moving from the stone space. But I'm going to land here at the special location that has no resources, but it has a picture that shows 4 of the 5 other actions. The only one that's missing is trade. What happens here is, first of all, I get a free action of one of those 4 that are pictured. So I can take a movement, build a ship, or I can purchase a card. So since I have a 4 on the card thing, I will go ahead and buy a card as well. that filled. Ah, good. I have 4, and there's a card that came up with 4. So I get a jug, and then I also get a wood, and I get one of the green nobleman pictures. So towards my set, I got one that gives me both a lion and a horse, and I've got a nobleman. So I've almost got a full set. I need to get a noblewoman, and I'll have a full set. And then, now I've taken that action, I now break up the ships that are in that location. I move again, and I go 1, 2, and I would get to do a build action. I don't have any additional wood, but if I did, I would pay the resources
Well,
to do
you can spend the gold.
Oh yeah, I could do that. That's a good choice. So I can trade 3 at any time on your turn. You can always trade 3 gold for 1 resource. So I have 6 gold. So I'm going to trade 6 gold and get 2 wood for that. And now I've got enough wood to build the upgraded ship. And this is really cool because now the upgraded ship, one thing I don't have is I got to be out of the starting perimeter. So let's say I moved up here already. I can build this upgraded ship, and I use that to replace a ship on my board. This counts as 2 ships when I'm getting resources. It's the only time it matters as far as the size of the ship. But when you get resources, that one will count for 2. But I take one of my ships off of here, and I put it onto the board. But I have to have had all of my ships that are on the board beyond this dotted line perimeter on the board in order to do that. But it's a good way to get more travel on the board. Now, you cannot move down the same path as one of your other ships. There's 4 paths basically down to the end destinations, and you can only have 1 ship on each path.
Mm-hmm. All right, so, yep. That is pretty much all the action. So basically, you continue playing the game until a couple of things happen. Either someone maxes out on the reward charts, someone plays all their ships, someone plays all their buildings,
or all of the jugs are gone from the starting, which you get 7 per player.
Right. So those are the triggering mechanics. Let's see. Overall, I really actually enjoyed this game.
I did too.
I did too. I did. I thought it was fine as 2 players.
Mm-hmm.
I did think it was completely good at 2 players. I see this being fine at 3 or 4 even. So I don't see that being much of an issue because you're kind of by yourself, but not really because you do engage a little bit. So I don't think player count is a big thing for this game. Some games there are. I had fun trying to... I tell you what, I got frustrated so many times because like where I would land, I didn't have resources, but where I wanted to land, where I had plenty of resources, I couldn't land.
Yeah. You have to manage your boats and where you're going to go. You know, that's really what it comes down to is that Mancala aspect of the game. But you can't really impact the other players directly. You can take, grab the spaces they're trying to get before they do, but they can still build on top of the same buildings you can.
Yeah, except for this here, if you're the first person, you get more victory points. And then you can get those tokens first.
Yes.
And so in that aspect, yeah, there's a little bit, but not really. Like you can buy these first. But, so there's a little bit enough of making sure you get there first, but not an insane amount where you feel like, oh, my game ends because I didn't get the thing. It's none of that. So overall, I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I hope we play this again pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. I'll say there's 2 expansions that came with it whenever I bought it because they all in. There's the Patronus expansion, and it had basically the main thing it adds is variable starting resources. Instead of having 2 cubes per start, you get basically a series of tiles that tell you things that you get, some of which give you some pretty awesome powers. The other thing is the Merchant expansion, and it adds additional goals that are private goals instead of the common ones that you can accomplish. Similarly, when you do your trade action, you can pay 4 gold to flip one of those over. And it adds also additional tiles, which we are already integrated because they were already in the pile. So that's really the only thing we left out. There's also some additional icons for the horses and the lions that you can get that basically there's some of the tiles will generate.
I think that was the only thing is the unicorn level was kind of low. But overall, I think I'm actually 8.5 to a 9. I don't know.
Wow, you really liked it.
I really did enjoy it. It was pretty darn good. There was
Yeah.
a lot of resource management. I'm afraid you're going to kick my butt at this game every time, though, because you're really good at these Mancala kind of type games. But I actually really did enjoy it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I think it was fun too. I don't think I'm quite as high as you. I think I'm at an 8. I think it was a great game. I don't think it's quite Trajan level. I think Trajan's a better game than this, but I still think this is a great game.
I'll be honest, I don't remember Trajan. It's been a while. We've played so many games, guys. It's hard for me to keep track. But I will say I did enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean, this is lighter than Trajan. It's easier to teach. And I think it's something that we'll get to the table more frequently with newer players. You know, and then maybe it'll be a good entry point for Trajan type games. So I think this is I'm glad I got it. I definitely am glad I got it. I was not expecting it to be like Trajan, and it is enough.
I will say
like
it's prettier than Trajan.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the board just looks so bad. Of course, I guess Trajan's pretty basic too. And the pieces are definitely nicer. So yeah, all in all, I think this was a great buy. It's a shame right now it's not available. You can't get it retail. If you're going to find it, you're going to have to look at third parties selling it, which means probably marked up. And right now, the only two I saw on Board Game Geek were not in the United States. One was in Germany, and I'm not sure where the other one was, but the prices weren't outlandish on it, which was good. So I don't know if the rule books they're probably not going to be in English if you're looking for that language, but they're probably in the language of
yeah, but I'm sure you could probably go online and find the English
there's PDFs
version. Yeah, they're PDFs.
And once you get beyond the rule book, it's all iconography anyway, so there's not any need to have printed language except for the names of the cities, which is not relevant to the gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely where if you like Trajan or games with Mancala elements to it, this is one to check out.
So I'm hoping, this is a little plug for us. So we're going to Gen Con, right? Super excited. We're planning a couple events. One of them is Legends of Nirvana game night on Wednesday night, so it's free. But maybe we could teach this one. I like this one. I like this a lot. So definitely. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, that's my little plug. Yay. Hopefully we'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.